Frank Herbert's Dune novels are science fiction with a fantasy scale, built around ecology, politics, belief, and the slow math of empires. The reading experience is thoughtful and sometimes dense, but it becomes smooth once the vocabulary settles in. The setting stays in a far future human civilization, with conflicts that feel structural rather than personal. This video is a reading order guide for new readers who want decision clarity before watching movie versions. We will separate the core canon from the optional books that are often marketed as entry points. We will also talk about where you can stop without regret because not every reader wants the same depth. One practical truth about Dune is that it rewards calm reading. You do not need to chase perfect comprehension on page 1. You need steady progress and a willingness to let the world build itself in your mind. If you do that, the books become less intimidating and more absorbing. One more clarity point: movie marketing often talks about Dune as if it is one story. The books are closer to a sequence of different lenses on the same universe. Expect shifts in pacing and scope. That expectation alone prevents most frustration, and it helps you choose a stopping point that still feels satisfying. What counts as the core Dune series is simple. The core is the 6 novels written by Frank Herbert, starting with Dune and ending with Chapterhouse Dune. That set is the foundation most readers mean when they say they read Dune. The safest order is publication order. It matches how concepts are introduced. It also matches how the tone shifts over time. Reading in another order often creates confusion, because later books assume you already trust the world's vocabulary. 2 helpful expectations. First, each book changes the shape of the experience. The first feels like a wide introduction. The second is tighter and more reflective. The third expands again. The fourth is a major tonal leap. The fifth and sixth work like a late-era pair. Second, you are allowed to stop. The series has natural pause points, and I will give you those. If you only read Dune, you still read a complete classic. If you read the first 3, you get a strong stopping point. If you read all 6, you get the full Frank Herbert run. In other words, you are not choosing a single forever commitment. You are choosing your next step. Start with Dune, then decide whether you want a short trilogy experience or whether you want the full 6-book exploration. The order stays the same, only the depth changes. Dune. This is the entry point and the only mandatory book in the entire franchise. It is also one of the most influential science fiction novels in modern publishing. If later books feel intimidating, remember that you only need to start here. A useful way to read Dune is to focus on 3 anchors. First, environment. Notice how survival, resources, and geography shape every decision. Second, power. Notice how politics and institutions set the boundaries of what people can do. Third, language. Notice how the book uses specific terms to create a sense of culture and history. You can let those terms repeat until they feel familiar. Interesting fact for readers: Dune helped popularize a modern style of world-building where ecology is not just background. It is part of the logic of the world. That is one reason the book feels different from many space stories. Practical reading tip: if a chapter feels dense, keep moving. The book often clarifies meaning through repetition. The goal is not to decode every sentence. The goal is to understand the direction of ideas and to enjoy the atmosphere as it sharpens. Dune Messiah. This is shorter and more reflective than the first book. Many readers think that means it is a minor sequel. It is not. It is a deliberate change of angle, and it is one reason publication order is important. The best mindset is to treat Messiah as the hinge of the early trilogy. It examines consequences and institutions. It also teaches you how the series handles time. The perspective pulls back. The book becomes less about discovery and more about what a society does with the ideas it inherits. Reading experience tip: because it is shorter, it can feel intense. It benefits from reading in a few focused sittings rather than tiny fragments. If you read it as a bridge between the first and third books, it usually lands better. A gentle promise: you do not need to catch every political nuance on the first pass. Focus on tone. Focus on how the series shifts from adventure scale to history scale. That shift is one of the defining features of the Dune core. Children of Dune. This book expands the world again, and it helps the first 3 novels feel like a complete unit. If you want a strong stopping point without committing to all 6, this is the most common recommendation. Reading experience. Children has more moving parts, but the writing stays clear. The series begins to feel like history being written in real time. You see how ideas evolve across generations, without needing a chart. If you like long-view world-building, this is where the series often clicks. A practical approach is to read in larger chunks. The book builds momentum when you stay with it. If you read only a few pages at a time, it can feel like it is setting up forever. If you finish this and feel satisfied, stopping is reasonable. If you finish this and feel curious about the big questions the series keeps asking, then you are ready for the next step. God, Emperor of Dune. This is the major tonal shift in the Frank Herbert run. Some readers call it their favorite, some readers bounce off it. Both reactions are normal. The important thing is to choose it on purpose. Reading experience. This book is more philosophical. It spends more time on ideas and long perspective. Scenes can feel like debates, and the pace can feel slower even when the stakes are large. If you like big thematic conversations, it can be deeply rewarding. If you want constant external action, it can feel challenging. A useful decision rule. If you enjoyed the conceptual parts of Dune and Messiah more than the momentum parts, try God Emperor. If you mostly enjoyed the atmosphere and the world surface, consider stopping after Children, or take a long break before continuing. This book is also a good test of whether you want to complete the full 6. If it works for you, the late-era books tend to work too. Heretics of Dune. This begins the late-era phase. After the intensity of God Emperor, Heretics can feel like a return to movement. You are in a later time, and the series focuses again on changing organizations, shifting alliances, and the practical costs of ideology. Reading experience. Heretics introduces new terms and new groups. That can be refreshing, but it also means you should lean on momentum. Do not pause for weeks between chapters if you can help it. If you do pause, use the chapter titles and your own memory of themes as your guide rather than trying to recall every detail. This is a weaker stopping point than Children because it feels like the start of an ending stretch. It sets up pressures that matter across the final 2 books of the core. If you are reading for the first time, treat this as the start of the ending stretch. Plan to read Heretics and Chapterhouse relatively close together. That way you keep the late-era terms active in memory. If you prefer audio, pick a narrator you like and stay consistent across both books. Consistency reduces friction in a series that is already asking you to track ideas across long time spans. Chapterhouse Dune. This is the 6th Frank Herbert novel and the endpoint of the core set. It is the book you aim for if you want to say you finished the main Dune series as written by the original author. Reading experience. It continues the late-era focus on institutions and long strategies. It is deliberate and it asks you to pay attention to ideas as much as scenes. If you made it through Heretics, you already understand the rhythm. The pleasure here is seeing how themes echo and how earlier ideas transform rather than repeat. A useful expectation is that this is not written like a final victory lap. It reads like a mature continuation of long questions. Many readers appreciate it more when they stop expecting it to feel like a conventional finale, and instead treat it as the end of the author's published conversation with his own world. One practical tip is to read short recaps you write for yourself at the end of each session. Keep it simple. Note which groups are influencing events, and what each group wants in broad terms. This keeps the intellectual threads clear without turning reading into homework. The reward is a sense of completion for the original author run, which is what most readers mean by finishing Dune. Recommended stopping points are not about being a real fan. They are about matching the series to your time and reading style. Here are 3 honest options, and each is valid. Option 1. Read only Dune. You get the world, the ideas, and a complete classic that stands alone. Option 2. Read the first 3, Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. That gives you a strong arc and a natural pause. Option 3. Read the full 6 Frank Herbert novels through Chapterhouse Dune. What I do not recommend for most first-time readers is stopping after Messiah. It can feel unfinished as an experience, even if you liked the book. Children is the more satisfying early landing point. Another honest note, if you love Dune but you feel tired by book 3, you do not need to push further. You can come back months later. These books are about long perspective. Reading them slowly is not a mistake. Choose your stopping point before you start, and you will enjoy the series more. It removes pressure. It also keeps the books from turning into a checklist rather than a reading experience. Expanded universe optional. The 3 prequel novels most often suggested to new readers are Dune, House Atreides, Dune House Harkonnen, and Dune House Corrino. They are written by Frank Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. They are sometimes marketed as easy on-ramps. Here is the trade-off in plain terms. These books tend to be more plot-forward and more explicit. Some readers enjoy that because it feels smoother and faster. Other readers feel it reduces the mystery and the sense of discovery that makes Dune special. My recommendation for a first-time reader is to treat these as completionist material. Read them after you have at least read Dune, and ideally after you finish the Frank Herbert core. That way you are adding extra time in the universe rather than replacing the intended entry experience. A good use case is when you want more context about names and factions, and you want it delivered in a more straightforward narrative style. If that is you, these books can be a pleasant extension. If you want the classic Dune experience, keep them optional. A safe way to use these prequels is as dessert after you finish the core, not as the appetizer. If you read them first, you may miss the intended sense of discovery in Dune. If you read them later, they can feel like extra time in the setting. That is the best case. In a reading order, the core comes first for a reason. Before the movies, the best preparation is simple. Read Dune itself, then stop. That gives you the clearest baseline, and it keeps the adaptation experience interesting rather than comparative. After that, decide based on what you enjoyed. If you liked the wide world and the steady accumulation, continue into Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. If you liked the ideas more than the story shape, you may enjoy going all the way through Chapterhouse Dune. If you want extra background after you know the core, then consider the optional house books as a separate project. A practical edition note: different covers and printings have different ISBNs. The story is the same. Use the book title and author name first. Then use the ISBN only to confirm the edition you want to buy. That avoids accidentally selecting a special printing that is not what you expected. If you want a simple plan, here is one. Read Dune. Wait a day. If you are curious, read Messiah and Children as a pair. Then pause and decide. If you want more, continue into God Emperor. Then read Heretics and Chapterhouse close together. That plan respects the natural rhythm of the series, and it avoids the most common dropout moments.